Good morning. Welcome to worship with the community of the First Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm Elaine Wells, and I'm serving as your worship associate today. We're so glad that you've chosen to join us. Do I need to start over? We're so glad that you've chosen to join us for worship today, especially visitors if there are any. This congregation works hard to be an inclusive community that listens, engages, and inspires, and then acts. Our mission is to foster the whole person with compassion and justice. Love is the spirit of this church. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this community. Let's take a moment now to just welcome and greet the people around you, because sometimes just a smile or a kind word can uplift a spirit. I almost hate to stop you from doing that because it's great to see the friendly smiles as you interact with each other. We also affirm that our church occupies the traditional treaty lands of the Omaha and Otoe-Missouri tribal nations, and we express our respect to the Northern Ponca, Winnebago, and Santee Sioux tribes. We invite everyone to support local causes, charities, and the rights of indigenous people. If you're parked in the garage to the west, we have a parking validator in the foyer, which is to the right of the doors as you enter. So please have your ticket stamped and you can park for free. Sarah Copeland, are you with us? Yeah, she has an announcement about our Heart and Hand auction.
All righty. Good morning. The auction is live online. We have an annual auction here at First Unitarian. It's called our Heart and Hand auction. We offer items and events, also promises, like services that will be rendered after you bid on them. We do the auction entirely online for 1 week, and then we meet for a fun party after. So the auction is open for bidding until October 24th at 6 p.m. No, at noon. I wrote this wrong. At noon, and then at 6 p.m. we meet for the party. Doors open at 6 p.m. for the party, and we will have a potluck dinner, a costume contest, door prizes, a cash bar, and a live dessert auction again. If you have not registered to bid yet, it's not too late. I'll be downstairs after the service, and I can help people sign up. I also have pamphlets with instructions, and we're still selling raffle tickets for the 50-50 drawing. The pot is sitting at $353, so half of the pot will go to the winner, and half of it will go to the church. So if you have any questions or would like to talk about anything auction, just come see me at the table downstairs later. Thank you.
And now our prelude. beautiful interpretation of a perfect peace. And now we'll light the chalice, the symbol of our unity of faith, and Gene Wagner is going to come light it for us. We're going to do a chalice lighting speech that came from the Midwest Unitarian Universalist Summer Assembly. I really like it because it has hand gestures that go along with the words. So let me say the words to you. You'll be up there on the screen as well, and I'll show you the gestures. We light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the church of the open mind, the loving heart, the church of the helping hand. Together we care for our earth and each other. So let's start and we'll do it together. We're also going to light the chalice for the sabbatical in a moment. Okay, we light this chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the church of the open mind, the caring heart, and the helping hands. Together we care for our earth and each other. There are different versions of that, so that's good too. Okay, and then now we're going to light the sabbatical chalice in hopes that this light will light the way for our minister to return after her sabbatical. And now the call to worship by Reverend Dennis.
Let us ponder something unnamed between us, something powerfully felt, a spirit which embodies what is deepest within us, within each and every one of us, that we may share beyond the bonds of names and categories. Let this something draw from ancient wisdom and from the creativity of our freshest thoughts. Let us recognize it as a touchstone of harmony, as a source of metaphysical unity, a transcendental kindling. Let us discard those things which set opposites into conflict, and understanding that such opposites mind is itself a delusion. Let us reach toward unity and reconciliation. Let insight bloom within us into all of one another's possibilities and all the richness of the cosmos, and lead us toward freedom, justice, and love. Let it stir in us the impassioned, compassioned discipline toward justice for all. Let it make of ourselves and our neighbors a single community of blessing. Within this spirit, let us dedicate ourselves to one another, to the family of humankind, and to the wonder which is our world. Come, let us worship together. And I invite you to open our service by singing our opening hymn, number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door.
May
seated. Each week, half of the loose currency in our offering plates is donated to a local cause so that more people can do more good. Our share of the plate recipient for October is Clare Memorial Church's pantry. We now enter the part of the service that is dedicated to care and centering, but first, our offertory. And now for joys and concerns. I will say it is a real joy to be a part of this choir and to hear our wonderful pianist play whenever he's here. Hopefully, if you've had a joy or a concern that you want to share with the congregation, you've already written in the book to the back. So Colin, would you bring those joys up? And while he's coming up, I'll just mention that those of you who are joining us by Zoom can share your joys and concerns in the chat.
From Melissa Gibson, saying thanks to you, the vote, and to all who showed up at Turner Park yesterday for the No Kings rally. Give them good trouble.
And now we're up for a marvelous sermon from Reverend Dennis.
Well, we have a special moment this morning. As your pinch-hitting minister, this is kind of a fun thing for me to be part of. Today, we're going to welcome 4 new people to our community. Oh. Well, we're welcoming 4, but I guess 2 are going to be here. My bad. Janet Miller and Tom Miller, can you please come forward? This is always a joyous time for a congregation, welcoming new members, and I've gotten to know you a little bit, and it's been pure pleasure. Thank you. And of course, renew all our shared commitment to this faith community.
We are pleased that each of you has chosen to formally become a member of this church. Today, we celebrate that commitment with the congregation. When we gather, we search together for meaning and truth in life, and we share our joys and sorrows with one another. Joining the First Unitarian Church of Omaha means being a deeper part of this gathered community, participating as voting members in the governance of the church, supporting others, and being supported in return. If you will join us in this mission and work, please say all together, I will.
Thank you. And will the members of the congregation please rise as you're able and join in the congregational response. It should be on the screen, and we'll do this as a call and response, so you can just listen and echo each line, and I'll say the words, and Melissa will lead you all in the echo. So here we go. We, the members of First Unitarian Church of Omaha.
We, the members of the First Unitarian Church of Omaha.
Welcome you to our shared journey.
Welcome you to our shared journey.
Of community, discovery, and celebration.
Of community, discovery, and celebration.
We invite you to contribute.
We invite you to contribute.
To our work for healing and justice.
To our work for healing and justice.
And pledge to join.
And pledge to join.
Our strengths and talents with yours.
Our strengths and talents with yours.
Believing that through our common effort.
Believing that through our common effort.
We may better shape.
We may better shape.
The meaning of our lives.
The meaning of our lives.
May we work together.
May we work together.
To sustain this congregation.
To sustain this congregation.
A place of comfort and challenge.
A place of comfort and challenge.
A home from which to journey.
A home from which to journey.
And return once again.
And return once again.
We receive you with open hands and hearts.
We receive you with open hands and hearts.
Welcome.
Welcome.
The congregation may be seated.
So we have welcome gifts for you that I'll give you at the end because I've given them to the people before, and it's weird when we shake hands and hug afterwards. So we give you these gifts to remind you that you belong to this community and that this community belongs to you.
It is said that membership truly begins not when you sign the book or appear before the congregation in a ceremony like this one, but when you find yourself disappointed by the congregation and choose to return anyway, putting our covenant of right relations into practice and asking others to live into those promises also. And one of the big things James Luther Adams writes about covenants is covenants are between imperfect people. We make mistakes, so we try again to renew and begin again. We will alternate reading the covenant. Let me try that again. We will alternate reading the covenant now. And before I ask you all to affirm it, I invite those on the piano side to read along with Melissa, and it'll be on the slides, while those on the organ side read along with me, our covenant of right relations.
We, the congregation of First Unitarian Church of Omaha, covenant together
To create a religious...
I didn't make slides for this, I'm sorry. So you'll just listen to me and Reverend Dennis.
Oh, is the slide up yet?
No, I didn't make slides for this part, so it's just going to be me and you.
Oh, okay, all right. Let's try this again.
Okay, we, the congregation of First Unitarian Church of Omaha, covenant together
To create a religious community where we can freely explore our values and foster diversity as a source of communal strength.
to build healthy relationships, seeking to understand each other and respect our differences.
To listen deeply and endeavor to communicate directly, honestly, and compassionately, particularly when we are in conflict.
To do our best to make amends when we have hurt each other, even unintentionally, to learn from our mistakes, to forgive, and to reconnect in a spirit of understanding and commitment.
Members old and new, do you affirm your commitment to this covenant? And if so, just as you are, you may say, I do. Reverend Alice Blair Wesley, who wrote a lot on covenants, said, to join a free church is to sign a promise that may sound simple. It should sound simple, but which, if you keep covenant, brings you into intimate companionship with others who have promised to live with all the integrity you and they can muster together in all the years of your lives.
So to our new members, Tom and Janet, may you find comfort in this community, may you find joy in it, may you be challenged in it, and may you know that your presence among us is a blessing for all.
And we're so glad to have you with us. A neat moment. I was kind of misting up there. Well, my nose was misting up. The reading this morning is from the 1897 novel Dracula by Bram Stoker, and I will try to read it with the appropriately purple prose. When the vampire who had once been Lucy saw us, she drew back, and I might add, this is at night, by the way. When the vampire who had once been Lucy saw us, she drew back with an angry snarl, such as a cat gives when taken unaware, and then her eyes ranged over us. Lucy's eyes in form and color, but Lucy's eyes unclean and full of hell fire. And at that moment, had she then to be killed, I could have done it with savage delight. As she looked, her eyes blazed with unholy light, and the face became wreathed in a voluptuous smile. Oh God, how it made me shudder to see it. With a careless motion, she flung to the ground, callous as a devil, the child that up to now she had clutched strenuously to her breast, growling over it as a dog growls over a bone. And the child gave a sharp cry and lay there moaning. There was a cold-bloodedness in the act which wrung a groan from Arthur, Lucy's fiancé. And when she advanced to him with outstretched arms and a wanton smile, he fell back and hid his face in his hands. She still advanced, however, and with a languorous, voluptuous grace said, "Come to me, Arthur, leave these others and come to me. My arms are hungry for your love. Come, and we will rest together. Come, my husband, come." And there was something diabolically sweet in her tones, something which rang through the brains even of us who heard the words addressed to another. And as for Arthur, he seemed under a spell. He opened wide his arms, and she was leaping for them when Van Helsing sprang forward and held between them a little golden crucifix. And she recoiled from it with a distorted face full of rage and dashed past him to enter her tomb. But Van Helsing had sealed the tomb with Holy Communion wafers. She stopped, and never shall I see such baffled malice on a face. The eyes seemed to throw out sparks of hellfire. The brows were wrinkled as though the folds of the flesh themselves had become the coils of Medusa's snakes, and the lovely blood-stained mouth grew to an open square. If ever a face meant death, if looks could kill, we saw it in that moment. And Van Helsing set down his lantern to remove some of the sacred emblem from the door, and we all looked on in horrified amazement as we saw, when he stood back, the woman who seemed to have a corporeal body as real at that moment as our own, pass in through a crack where scarce a knife blade could have gone. And we all felt a glad sense of relief when we saw the professor calmly restoring the sacred host to the edges of the door, sealing the undead monster inside the tomb, just as he had previously sealed her out. Vampires have been a big deal in popular culture for generations, but the vampires of today are not your father's vampires. I was 12 years old when I read Bram Stoker's classic horror novel, Dracula, and it scared the bejeebers out of me. The rational part of my brain knew better, of course, but the insecure part fashioned a little crucifix out of wood and kept it next to my bed just to be on the safe side. 25 years later, my daughter Erin read it at the same age, and she thought it was tame to the point of utter boredom. Vampires have changed with popular culture, and that's worth looking at because popular culture can tell us a lot about our own psychology. For example, I'll return to our study topic for my time with you, old movies. And we watched this one, actually. Back in 1946, French film director Jean Cocteau made a movie that's now an art house classic titled La Belle et la Bête, Beauty and the Beast. And Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast is very little like the Disney cartoon. For one thing, it was quite sexy in a demure kind of way. And for another, right after the Second World War, French director Cocteau didn't have much money for filmmaking, so he used black and white film instead of color and very simple special effects. And despite such things, It's one of the most gorgeous movies you'll ever see, and it's required study in film theory classes. A very handsome French actor, Jean Marais, played the Beast, and each day, makeup artists hid his good looks beneath 5 hours of makeup, a frightening lion face inspired by artist Gustave Doré's illustrations for the fairy tale Puss in Boots. The Beast is powerful, scary, and at times a savage killer. He lives in a magical castle, and he has magical powers himself. But when the Beast is around the heroine, Belle, he may be powerful and scary looking, but he's totally in love with her. And he's totally vulnerable only to her. He follows her around like a sad dog, doing what she tells him, longing for a touch or a loving look. And if this is starting to sound familiar, if you've read the books, yes, he's a lot like the vampire Edward in the 21st century Twilight series of vampire novels, which my daughter just loved. Vampires have changed with popular culture. Beast and Edward from Twilight are really the same character. Powerful, magical, dangerous, but totally devoted to the woman they love. They're what psychologists call an archetype. That is, a character that's instantly recognizable because emotionally we're pre-wired to appreciate them. The powerful, dangerous, bad boy who's also totally devoted and vulnerable to the heroine is actually quite a familiar archetype, and it's not just restricted to fantasy or horror. Take away the magic, and basically you have Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind. Novelists who find ways to access archetypes can be very successful. The human brain is a complexly evolved structure with quite primitive emotional wiring. Archetypes express our deepest subconscious needs, fears, hopes, and desires. They act powerfully on the primitive levels of our brain, even when the rational mind knows better. And the novel Dracula deals in archetypes too, but quite different archetypes. It took more than 100 years to get from the fiendish Dracula, written by a man, to Stephenie Meyer's enchanting Edward in Twilight. Here's one more detour into old movies for one more insight into the way Dracula worked in popular culture back around the turn of the last century. The most infamous actress of the silent film era was a nice Jewish girl from Cincinnati, Ohio, named Theodosia Burr Goodman. Born in 1885, Theodosia Burr Goodman graduated from high school, went to the University of Cincinnati, and discovered she had a talent for acting. And to make a long story short, she wound up at Fox Studio, who changed her name from Theodosia Burr Goodman to Theda Bara. And she's the first great American sex symbol. And it's easy to see how a studio agent could change Theodosia Burr Goodman to Theda Bara. But they claimed the name Theda Bara came from Arab death read backwards, i.e., she was a dangerous woman. And the studio claimed she was born in Egypt, spent her youth in the Sahara Desert in the shadow of the Sphinx, figure that one out, and then learned to act in France. And there wasn't a word of truth to any of that. She'd never even been to any of those places at that time, but that's show business. And her first hit was a 1915 movie based on the Rudyard Kipling poem, The Vampire. She played a beautiful, ruthless, immoral woman who got her clutches into a respectable family man and destroyed him. And in the 1890s and the early 1900s, that was the most common meaning of the term vampire, an immoral, dangerous woman. The public really picked up on this archetype. Newspapers shortened the word vampire to fit into headlines, and Theda Bara became famous as the first vamp. Fox starred her in several blockbuster movies with the same kind of plot, but Theodosia Burr Goodman was no less moral than anybody else. She didn't like being a vamp. She was just a nice girl from Cincinnati. She got married in 1921, and her husband didn't like her vamp image either, so she refused to make any more vamp movies, and her career quickly declined. But the reputation stayed with her to the point that when her final movie, an innocent comedy, came out in 1926, my then 11-year-old mother was not allowed to go see it because of Theda Bara's vamp image. Now, the idea of an Arab vamp makes no sense rationally, certainly not to anyone who knows anything about Islamic culture or vamps, either one, but it makes perfect sense emotionally. We were suspicious of Arabs, even in 1915. Patriarchal culture was suspicious of vamps. It was easy and maybe even automatic to connect those suspicions on a subconscious level. And again, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, that was the common meaning of the term vampire, not the blood-sucking monster of Bram Stoker's Dracula, but the dangerous, immoral woman. But those two meanings are actually closer than first meets the eye. In Bram Stoker's day, Great Britain was the most powerful nation on earth by far. People said, you may have heard this one, the sun never set on the British Empire because it wrapped around the whole world. The British looked down their noses at other nations. Germans were brutes, French were sissies, and Americans were just these kind of dumb backwoods types. That's the way Americans are portrayed in Dracula and also in the Sherlock Holmes stories, which were written about the same time. As for Eastern Europe, the British looked on that as a picturesque, rather mysterious place. And Bram Stoker was interested in Eastern European mythology, and he'd read a bit of Hungarian history, so a Hungarian vampire was to him the perfect topic for a horror novel. And travelogues were also popular in the 1890s, so the book starts out as a travelogue to a part of Hungary called Transylvania. And another very popular form of literature was what was called invasion literature. Popular novels at the time had England being invaded by everything from germs to Germans to men from Mars. So Stoker wrote about an invasion by a vampire from Eastern Europe. And his working title was The Dead Undead, which doesn't sound too ringy. He named his main character Count Wampir. And he was almost finished when he found out about an obscure Eastern European noble, Dracula. And that had a nice ring to it, so he plugged the name Dracula in as his main character, and he also used that for the title as well. And as most Dracula fans now know, there really was a Władysław Dracula, better known in his own day as Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler, and he really was a scary character. He inspired many legends. He was a strong leader, but he's best remembered today as a sadist who loved to torture people. He wasn't Hungarian or Transylvanian, though. He ruled the Romanian province of Wallachia back in the 1470s. And there is a portrait of Władysław Dracula in a gallery in Vienna, and it's quite possible that Bram Stoker saw that portrait in his travels. His description in the book fits the portrait quite well. Beyond that, though, Stoker's historical research was crummy. The real Dracula didn't have anything to do with Transylvania. He ruled Wallachia, clear across on the opposite side of Romania. And Stoker puts Dracula's castle in the Carpathian Mountains, hundreds of miles from Vlad the Impaler's real capital. And it's also too bad Stoker didn't know about Vlad the Impaler's real history of torturing people. He could have used that. In our day, I have to mention this, in our day, so many American vampire fans have gone looking for Dracula's castle in the Carpathian Mountains that the Romanians decided to accommodate us, realizing that Dracula's castle would be a good way to separate American tourists from our money. They built one there. Again, you can make more money by appealing to people's emotions and prejudices than by appealing to reason or logic. One thing Stoker did sort of get kind of right was that Dracula did fight the Turks. In fact, the real Vlad the Impaler was killed in a battle with the Turks. And from our point of view, the Unitarian side of our tradition, that was actually a good thing. The Turks, who were Islamic, went on to conquer not just Dracula's province of Wallachia, but most of Romania, Transylvania, and Hungary. And as Muslims, they didn't care which version of Christianity the conquered people followed, only that they kept the peace and behaved themselves. So, 90 years later, the Turks didn't mind at all, one way or the other, when their vassal ruler in Transylvania converted to Unitarianism and issued Europe's first decree of religious freedom, guaranteeing equal rights to Catholics, Calvinists, Lutherans, and Unitarians. In other words, had the real Vlad the Impaler defeated the Turks instead of being killed by them, Transylvania might not have become a Unitarian birthplace, and I just thought I'd mention that. Bram Stoker didn't care about any of that. He was just writing pulp fiction. But again, pulp fiction, popular culture, can tell us a lot about our own subconscious attitudes, and that's where Dracula gets interesting. Group dynamics is a crucial piece of human nature. One well-studied facet of group dynamics is the way our subconscious mind divides people into us versus them. Bram Stoker's Count Dracula is very much one of them. He's a foreigner, he's an outsider, and even if he weren't a vampire, he'd be a bad man. He's hard, proud, and cruel, and of course, he is a vampire, a foreign male vampire. He will suck blood from a man if he has to, but that doesn't happen often in the book. Most of the time, Stoker depicts Dracula sucking blood from women, particularly young, attractive, virginal women. So here's this bad foreigner who comes to England to attack our good English girls. I'm not going to mention a certain political candidate. This morning's reading describes what happens when he succeeds. Lucy is a sweet, virginal young woman whose blood gets sucked by Dracula, and the result is that when he turns her into a vampire, she reverses the socially acceptable Victorian role for women, which is to be shy and polite and care for children. The word Stoker most often uses in describing the vampire Lucy is voluptuous. In other words, Dracula is scary, not least because he attacks our good girls and makes them sexy. Lucy becomes both a vampire and a vamp. So where the Twilight novels are about female attraction for the powerful but devoted Beauty and the Beast archetype, Dracula is about male paranoia about a foreign sexual rival and real fear of dangerous, sexy women. Now, there's enough going on here for a whole PhD dissertation. Again, When Dracula was published, Great Britain was by far the most powerful nation in the world, and yet popular novels of the day pictured Great Britain at the mercy of all kinds of scary invaders. In some, it was diseases. In others, it was Germans. And of course, in H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, it was men from Mars. And in Dracula, it was a Transylvanian vampire. All the military and economic power of the British Empire did not make them feel safe. It only made them feel more afraid. And we need to ponder that. I think it helps explain where we are as a nation today. Turn of the century society was deeply patriarchal. Men were superior and father was king of the household, and yet, as the vamp stereotype and Dracula both show, patriarchalism did not ease men's inner anxieties any more than military power made them feel secure. Being powerful has its advantages, but it does not make you feel safe. Quite the opposite. Power makes you more afraid of all you can lose. Which brings us to our own time. Like the British Empire in the 1890s, the United States is now the most powerful nation in the world, both militarily and economically. In some ways, society has changed a great deal, but human psychology has not changed. In our day, we're not vulnerable to defeat, invasion, or conquest, even to the level we were during the Second World War. But with the cultural changes of the late 20th and early 21st century, arguably culminating with the election of our first black president, more Americans are more afraid of more things than about any time in our history. Americans are anxious about illegal immigration, dangerous foreigners. Then again, Americans have never liked immigrants, even though we're almost all descended from immigrants. Many Americans are frightened about terrorism, even though we lose hundreds of times more people in traffic accidents and shooting incidents, not to mention death and disease, because those same Americans most terrified about foreigners refuse to be vaccinated. And of course, those same Americans are afraid of gender nonconforming folks as well as nervous about strong women to this day. If current events have accomplished nothing else, they have exposed the shadow side of the American psyche. We still fear the same things people feared a century and a half ago, and we still tend to express our fear as anger and even aggression. For all the progress we've made, we can still see how far we have to go in human rights, women's rights, and even religious freedom, not to mention plain old cultural self-knowledge. In 2 of our last 3 elections, our electorate demonstrated they would rather elect an obviously unstable white man than a woman, no matter how competent she was. And we're beginning to learn the cost of that patriarchal fear. The point being that people are still born with the same mental wiring we had 100,000 years ago. So I think we err when we look at social justice issues or social issues at all as problems we can solve and then walk away from. Social problems are embedded in human nature itself, so that we will find ourselves needing to solve the same problems over and over again, be it race, gender, homophobia, transphobia, or religion. So, I guess a couple more movie quotes might be relevant to our times. First, stand up and be counted. And also, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy flight. May we engage the turmoil of our own times with commitment to our ideals and also humility for human emotional frailty, right alongside faith in human resilience, because resilience is also real. And a healthy sense of humor wouldn't be a bad idea either. Blessed be, and amen. And I invite you to stand and join singing our closing hymn this morning. It may be unfamiliar. It's number 343, A Fire, Mist, and a Planet. But it's a great hymn. So Jay is going to play it through once. It's quite easy, and then we'll sing it together. When we look past the surface of things, there is a transforming mystery to life. It lies in the dragonfly's wing, ripples spreading across a still pond, the smile of a baby. The door to enlightenment opens at every hand. Listen, listen. We can hear the roar of distant waters. We can hear the whispers of the muses calling us to a brighter world. As we go from this place, may the glow of love and enlightenment guide our way, and may the rhythm of our footsteps soothe and bless the earth wherever we may tread. I will now extinguish the chalice. May its light go with us into the world.